Right now, this is not just another Trump outburst. This is a warning flare for American democracy. What unfolded over a routine budget hearing has spiraled into something far more dangerous. Elected officials are being threatened for doing their jobs, and the consequences are no longer hypothetical. Let me be very clear from the start. What we are witnessing is not normal. It is not tough politics. It is not Trump being Trump. This is a former and current president reacting to basic constitutional oversight with rage, intimidation, and language that carries real-world consequences. And this time, even members of his own party are saying out loud what many have privately feared for years. It began quietly, almost mundanely. A standard House Budget Committee hearing, the kind Congress holds every single year. Lawmakers asking questions about federal spending, proposed cuts, and how those decisions would affect the people they represent. No ambush, no grandstanding, no hostile theatrics, just legislators doing the work the Constitution assigns them. Republican members were asking about numbers, about agriculture, about how budget reductions would hit rural districts. One of those questions came from Representative Tom Cole of Oklahoma, a veteran lawmaker and no stranger to supporting Donald Trump, a party loyalist, a committee chair, someone who had defended Trump through controversy after controversy. And that is where this story takes a hard turn. Donald Trump was watching, and instead of seeing routine oversight, he saw betrayal. Instead of hearing a policy question, he heard disloyalty. And within minutes, the familiar pattern kicked in: anger, resentment, retaliation. Here's where it gets disturbing. Trump took to social media and unleashed a barrage of attacks. Not one post, not two, a flood. What started as insults quickly escalated into something darker. He labeled Cole a traitor. He accused him of corruption. He demanded punishment. Then he widened the target. Other Republicans, other lawmakers, named individually, singled out. By the end of the day, the rhetoric had crossed a line that should alarm anyone who believes in the rule of law. Trump didn't just criticize. He threatened. He used language implying consequences. He suggested that patriots knew what needed to be done. He framed elected officials as enemies of the people. This was not abstract. This was not metaphorical. These were sitting members of Congress being portrayed as traitors by a man with a massive, intensely loyal following. Legal experts noticed immediately. So did Capitol Police. Within hours, congressional offices were inundated. Phones rang nonstop. Staff members reported calls filled with rage, calls talking about hanging lawmakers, shooting them, telling them to watch their backs. Security had to be increased. Threat assessments were launched. Families were put on alert. Let that sink in. Members of Congress faced credible threats not because they broke the law, not because they committed corruption, but because they asked questions during a budget hearing. That is the moment this stops being about Trump's temperament and starts being about Democratic survival. And for the first time in a long time, something else happened. Republicans didn't all fall silent. Publicly, cautiously, but unmistakably, cracks appeared. Senators who had weathered Trump's storms before stepped forward. Lisa Murkowski called the behavior unacceptable and said serious discussions about Trump's fitness for office were necessary. Mitt Romney went further, warning that the rhetoric was dangerous and incompatible with democratic governance, even suggesting resignation. That matters. Not because these voices are new critics, but because they are Republicans. People who understand the political cost of crossing Trump. People who know what it means to face a primary fueled by MAGA anger. When members of your own party start saying the words dangerous and criminal out loud, something fundamental has shifted. And this didn't come out of nowhere. The pattern is unmistakable. We have seen this playbook before, over and over. Loyalty is demanded. Compliance is rewarded. But independence, even the mildest kind, is treated as treason. Think back to Mitch McConnell. Years of unwavering support, judicial confirmations, legislative protection, impeachment defenses. But the moment McConnell acknowledged reality after the 2020 election, the moment he chose constitutional duty over personal allegiance, Trump turned on him viciously. Insults, smears, primary threats. Loyalty meant nothing once obedience ended. Or consider Mike Rounds, a deeply conservative senator. Reliable, pro-Trump. All he did was state a basic fact. The 2020 election was legitimate. One sentence. That was enough. Trump responded with personal attacks, insults, and efforts to politically undermine him. Then there is Liz Cheney, one of the most conservative voting records in Congress. Leadership position, deep Republican roots. Her mistake was prioritizing the Constitution after January 6th. For that, Trump made her destruction a mission, and he succeeded. Even Kevin McCarthy learned this lesson the hard way. He bent, he defended, he shielded Trump repeatedly, he offered access and protection. But when McCarthy needed Trump's help, when his speakership was on the line, Trump did nothing. Loyalty flows one way in Trump's world. Now Tom Cole joins that list, along with anyone else who dares to do their job instead of pledging absolute fealty. Let me be very clear. This is not how a constitutional republic functions. Presidents are not kings. Congress is not a ceremonial body. Oversight is not optional. And questioning budget proposals is not rebellion. When a president responds to oversight with threats, and those threats are followed by real-world intimidation, we are no longer operating in the realm of normal politics. We are edging into rule by fear. Legal analysts across the spectrum have said as much. Threatening federal officials to influence their actions is a crime. Encouraging supporters to target named individuals, especially when violence has followed similar rhetoric in the past, raises serious legal red flags. And context matters. January 6th matters. We know what happens when Trump uses charged language. We know his supporters take cues from his words. Fight. Stop the steal. They're traitors. These are not abstract slogans. They have consequences. That is why even some conservative legal voices expressed alarm. Not partisan critics, defenders, people who have given Trump the benefit of the doubt before, now saying this crossed a line. Because this time the target was Congress itself. That puts Republican leadership in an impossible position. Protect their members and risk Trump's wrath, or stay silent and normalize threats against lawmakers. There is no safe middle ground. Behind closed doors, fear is growing. Not just political fear, but personal fear. Lawmakers are weighing whether asking tough questions is worth putting their families at risk. Staffers are reconsidering careers. Committees are pulling back. Oversight is chilling in real time. That is not democracy. That is intimidation. And the implications go far beyond one party. Congress is a co-equal branch of government. Its ability to function independently is foundational. If a president can cow legislators into silence through threats and mob pressure, then checks and balances collapse. Power consolidates. Accountability evaporates. This is how democratic systems erode. Not overnight. Not with tanks in the streets. But with fear, normalization, and the steady lowering of standards. What makes this moment especially dangerous is Trump's response to criticism. He didn't de-escalate. He doubled down. He attacked the senators who spoke out. He threatened political annihilation. He demanded submission. That tells you everything you need to know. This is not about policy disagreements. This is about control, about enforcing loyalty, about punishing dissent. And the question facing the Republican Party now is stark. Protect democracy and risk political survival, or protect Trump and watch institutions weaken further. Some see an opportunity. Democrats don't need to make the case here. Republicans are making it themselves. When members of Trump's own party call his behavior dangerous, the argument writes itself. But opportunity does not erase danger, because the damage is already happening. Threats are real. Fear is real. The chilling effect on governance is real. So where does this leave us? At a crossroads. A nation of laws or a nation of loyalty tests? Oversight or intimidation? Accountability or fear-driven silence? This was triggered by a budget question. Think about that. Not an investigation, not an impeachment, a question. If that is all it takes to unleash threats against lawmakers, then the system is already under strain. This is bigger than Donald Trump. It is about whether the constitutional framework can withstand a leader who sees any questioning as betrayal and any accountability as an attack. History tells us that democracies don't fall all at once. They fray, they bend, they normalize behavior that once would have been unthinkable. The stakes right now could not be higher. Congressional independence, personal safety, the rule of law, all are on the line. And what happens next matters. Whether more Republicans speak out, whether consequences follow, whether institutions hold. Because if this behavior becomes accepted, if threatening Congress becomes just another political tactic, then the balance of power is gone. This is not hyperbole. This is the moment we are living in. Donald Trump responded to routine oversight with intimidation that resulted in real threats against elected officials. Members of his own party said publicly that it crossed a line. That is unprecedented territory. The question now is whether the system responds or retreats. If you want clear-eyed, no-nonsense updates like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay informed.